I'm going to start with the question of today's show because there are two quarterbacks playing in Sunday's game who obviously the Houston Texans would kill to have either of. One of them is Patrick Mahomes, who has the makings of one of the greatest quarterbacks we've ever seen. Career is very early, but he's off to a damn good start. And the way that he plays, it is aesthetically beautiful. On the other sideline, you have a guy in Jalen Hurts who continues to overcome obstacle after obstacle after obstacle and slowly but surely improve as a player. And these two guys have me thinking about the Houston Texans and what they should be doing at quarterback come draft time. So the question of today's show is this. Other than the obvious talent, what are the traits that teams should be looking for in an NFL quarterback? We'll start with Sean Mapes behind the glass. Sean, if there's one trait, can't be talent because that's the obvious one, above all else that you're looking for in a quarterback, what is it that you would want?
I think it would be the leadership, the being a cool head in the locker room and just having your head on straight, I guess, is like the best way to say it. It's like just being a guy who knows what he's about.
Okay. So knowing who you are.
Yeah.
Which I guess Kyler Murray doesn't know who he is, right?
I mean, he knows who he is. But
well, remember Dan Patrick with J.J. Watt?
Oh, yeah. Did he say he didn't know
He basically said, does Kyler Murray know who he is?
Did Dan Patrick just incept me into, wow.
I think he did.
Thought virus.
So you get to answer that question. I'm going to start by talking about Jalen Hurts. Because, look, we'd all like the Texans to get Patrick Mahomes. Guess what? They're not getting Patrick Mahomes. They're not. Just get that out of your head.
If you package 2 and 12 and Davis Mills.
No. Sean, stop. You're not getting actual Patrick Mahomes. You're not getting something that's like Patrick Mahomes. He is a miracle. That he fell to the Kansas City Chiefs, it is really a miracle. Retroactively, you can understand why he fell in the draft the way that he did, but that is a guy that you're likely not going to get, even if you love Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud or Will Levis, I guess. That's not what you're going to get with that second overall pick. I think best case scenario, you're going to get yourself a Jalen Hurts. Best case scenario. And by the way, that's good. Like Jalen Hurts is a good to great quarterback who has shown to this point in his career that he is slowly getting better and better. Obviously, you want a guy who learns. You know what I'm looking for, though, more than anything else in a quarterback? I'm looking for somebody who has overcome adversity. Jalen Hurts was actually asked about that leading up to the Super Bowl this week.
I feel like I was going through a really tough time in college, going through things that no one else was really going through. And I knew I was going through it for a reason. I really believe that. So that's what I doubled down on. And I believe faith without work is dead. So while you have faith, you can't, not be doing anything. So I had a lot of faith and I put a lot of work in. I never stopped believing in myself and believing what could be. So I had limitless possibilities.
Hurts obviously was the starting quarterback at Alabama, gets benched in the middle of the national championship game, stays there the next year, goes on to Oklahoma, plays fantastic at Oklahoma, and is a guy that I think has shown that when he gets hit in the face, he can get back up. And not every single athlete come draft day is going to make that readily presentable to you. You're going to have to do your digging. You're going to have to do research. But I would say that one of the reasons that I have stereotypes, I guess I have prejudice is the better word, against quarterbacks from Ohio State, quarterbacks from Southern California. What's the adversity that those guys are facing over the course of their life, let alone just at that university? You could point to Joe Burrow, who didn't make it at Ohio State, transfers to LSU, overcomes adversity, continues to improve every single year. I'm looking for somebody who has dealt with it and has overcome it. Like, that is something that obviously isn't the end-all be-all. You want the guy to be talented too. But a guy who has been through things that are tough, as opposed to, the USC quarterback has traditionally been some kid from the Orange County, some kid like that goes to a Catholic school somewhere in the... Listen, nothing against Catholic schools, Sean Mapes, But
some great radio producers went to Catholic school.
that, you know what? I went to Catholic school growing up too, Sean, okay? So I'm not diminishing that, but I also can admit that even though I've been through some things as a person growing up, like I've been pretty privileged because I got to go to private schools my entire life, you know? I think some of the guys who go through actual adversity, those are the ones that you should be looking for. And you want someone else who is tough. Jalen Hurts is tough, right? I mean, Jalen Hurts basically runs like a running back. You want someone who's athletic. And by the way, we got to stop with the slow quarterbacks. Like the Davis Mills was never going to work out. He can't move. He can't bleeping move. Like the people that bought into Davis Mills, I don't get it. I really don't. He had the ability to throw a football 70 yards. So did Kyle bleeping Boulder. I mean, what are we doing here? You want someone who can scoot because guess what? If you have athleticism, you're going to be able to make up for the things you don't know the first couple of years of your career. You are going to, as you learn how to play in the NFL, as you learn how to read defenses, as you learn an offense, when you have that in your back pocket, that helps. I want someone who's mobile. I want someone who's tough, obviously, and a leader who can handle adversity. But what are you looking for? 713-780-3776 to call in, to text in as well on the HR&P listener line. A couple of comments. People maybe are looking for a handsome man as the quarterback. That's what Todd the Show says on twitch.tv/ESPN 97.5.
I think it helps.
Yeah.
I think it helps. It doesn't hurt.
I feel like the people who are handsome in life, though, don't go through as much adversity as the ugly people. So maybe you want to look for somebody who looks like Eli Manning or looks like Ben Roethlisberger. Hey, I'm not saying they're ugly. I mean, I'm not the most handsome person out there. But, I mean, I would say that Jalen Hurts is a rather attractive man. Dr. Dre on 290 asks, Paul, does Jalen Hurts have kissable lips in your opinion? And isn't Ask Me Anything Friday. Wait a second. Let's look this up.
Jalen Hurts
lips. Sorry, Jalen Hurts' dad, if you're listening, because I know he was on the bench yesterday.
We're a different kind of show.
Yeah,
Jalen Hurts' dad.
Listen, we're open to everything. Looking at my Surface Pro right now. I mean, he does have lips. They are full. So I guess yes. I guess yes is what we're trying to say here. Did another show on this station say that? Interesting. Other traits that you're looking for in a quarterback. 713-780-3776 is how you get in by phone or to text in on the most interactive sports talk show in Houston, the HR&P listener line. From the 281, thinking of Jalen Hurts, I would say perseverance. Okay. Someone also texted in, they have to have that dog in them. Having sex with your mother's friends is not a trait that I feel like a quarterback needs to have, as proven by Zach Wilson.
See,
Sean.
I feel like have that dog in him got stolen from what it really means.
What does it really mean?
It really means being a junkyard dog, dude. It's like the Patrick Beverly of quarterbacks. Taylor Heineke has that dog in him. And Taylor Heineke might actually be the answer to the question of, like, he has all the traits except talent that you want. It's like, he's not
really
very talented, but he has all the other stuff.
He's kind of in that Ryan Fitzpatrick mold where you want to keep him around, but you don't want to give him a shot for very long. And they're very similar players, too. Too many, I think, risks taken on both of their parts. Hurts has gotten better at that. I think Hurts has gotten quicker with his decision-making, which is important. I mean, you want to also see a guy who has shown that he can pick up things on the fly. I think what's really incredible about both Joe Burrow and Jalen Hurts over the last couple of seasons is that they went from schemes at Ohio State and schemes at LSU. Schemes at Ohio State and schemes at Alabama to schemes at LSU and Oklahoma, respectively. And that's not to say that college schemes are so complicated a quarterback can't pick it up. But, I mean, that is something else that a lot of coaches are unfortunately not going to be with a young quarterback for their entire career. You know, you have to have somebody who can shake it off when things change. Take a look at Mac Jones this past season. I mean, Mac Jones had a promising rookie year. This past year, you gave him some bad coaches, and he looks awful to the point where the Patriots probably should consider moving on from him.
And you mentioned like Jalen Hurts and Joe Burrow moving on, and more than learning the playbook is like both those guys were captains their first year after they transferred. Like they came in the spring, and then by the fall They're the team captains. That I feel like also says a lot about like they come over and just they know how to lead.
Right. And it's natural. Obviously, you have to be
ESPN
thrust
975.
into that. You can't be Brock Osweiler reading from a book and trying to convince everybody that your leadership material by sounding like a politician with his stick up as you know what. You have to be natural with it, and Hurts has always been natural with it. So that is the question of today's show. 713-780-3776, 713-780-ESPN. Other than the obvious talent, what are the traits the team should be looking for in an NFL quarterback, specifically the Houston Texans? Before we get to a couple of Texans who may have been snubbed last night, it is the most interactive sports talk show in Houston. 713-780-3776 to call in, to text in as well on the HRNP listener line. You could tweet us at Gallant Says, twitch.tv/ESPN975, or facebook.com/Paul Gallant Sports. Let's go to the phones first. Vera on the west side of town wants to answer the question, what traits, talent excluded, are you looking for in a quarterback, especially come draft time? Vera, what you got?
Hey, Paul, appreciate you taking my call. I think stability and consistency, right? There are going to be up and down days. And I know it's something that Russell Wilson, early in his career when he was still corny and still performing, had said that, right? There are good days, there are bad days. You're going to be passing 400 yards, 4 touchdowns in a given day. You're going to have only 150 yards and 2 interceptions. But are you able to still maintain an even keel on both of those days and able to perform, right? And I think with this point, I'll just take a little tangent, and I wanted to say I think both the Super Bowl bound teams here have shown what the key is to getting a team there, right? I think with New England, it was always a little bit of a black box, right? Whether it was Belichick, whether it was his assistants who were doing it all, whether it was all on the quarterback. And I think there was a little bit of everything, but with these two teams, they have shown a roadmap for the rest of the league to follow, which is a little more, let's say, hopefully a little more sustainable if you're able to hit right. And that is, you have a strong ownership, which I'm glad the Texans ownership are showing a little bit of a spine. There's an analytical GM who are not really like big talkers. I mean, I know Nick likes to talk a lot, but Howie Roseman and Brett Veach both are kind of like, we will do our job in the rooms behind, in the war rooms behind. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, the leader of the team in the head coach with Andy Reid and Nick Sirianni, right? And they're able to build the team and show. So hopefully with Nick being the analytical guy, the ownership showing a little more spine, and D'Amico being the face of the franchise, we really haven't had one since the quarterback, who shall not be named, had been traded away, had decided not to play. Mm-hmm. But since you were covering the Seattle Seahawks, I wanted to kind of get your thoughts, if you have time today, to talk about your thoughts on Matt Burke as the DC and Nick Cray as the chief of staff.
All right, Vera, we appreciate the phone call. Lot to dive into. First off, Matt Burke, like I will get to Matt Burke in the next segment because I do want to stay somewhat on topic here. And to answer your question too about like structure in an organization, Nick Sirianni's, done a hell of a job thus far. But Nick Sirianni does have a lot around him, as does Jalen Hurts. Howie Roseman deserves the most credit for what Philadelphia is doing right now. On the Kansas City side of things, Brett Veach, the Kansas City GM, has done a pretty good job of retooling. But obviously, a lot of what they are doing has to do with both Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. There's no one blueprint to follow, I guess, is what I'm trying to say here. You got to do it your own way. There are things that you can learn from a team that's successful, but you can't replicate it. Obviously, we found that out with New England over the last 20 years. Everyone's tried to replicate it. You should take some ideas away from New England, but you might not be able to execute them the same way that they've been able to do it. As far as the quarterbacks go, the question of today's show, traits that you are looking for in a quarterback, consistency, that's hard to predict at the college level. Obviously, you want that. Like that's the most important thing a quarterback does. Talent is something that helps you be consistent, but some guys that you would think are consistent, like take a Josh Allen, aren't. Patrick Mahomes has shown in the past like he's not necessarily always on a 400-yard, 4-touchdown game kind of day. Every now and then he has those trying a little bit too hard, forcing things days. But this season, obviously, there weren't as many of them. He bounced back considering, he had Tyreek Hill leave him this offseason. It's no surprise that he was the NFL's MVP. Consistency is difficult to find. So you can't really look at a quarterback in college and take a look at his statistics and say, oh, yeah, great. Like, that's totally different for quarterbacks that are playing in a good conference versus a bad conference. Some quarterback might put up ridiculous statistics and you'd think pretty highly of him, but you're like, wait a second. Is this guy actually going to be able to put it together week to week? Anthony Richardson's a guy that some people have floated as a potential Texans quarterback. I like Anthony Richardson, the prospect, because of all the possibilities with him as somebody who watches a lot of the Gators, because I like the Gators. But he's also maddeningly inconsistent. And I mean, just as many great plays as he makes, he's going to make some plays and you're like, what the bleep? And you're going to throw something at a wall. And you can get better as far as consistency over time. Jalen Hurts has shown that. Some of the other comments that we've gotten about what you're looking for in a quarterback, especially as far as consistency, though, are pretty hilarious. Facebook.com/Paul Gallant Sports. Jimmy says, I'm looking for a quarterback with a shorter neck. Well, yeah, Brock Osweiler, Davis Mills hasn't worked out.
Good news is you won't get one with a longer neck. I can almost guarantee you that.
I mean, Bryce Young, you almost want his neck to be a little bit longer so that he would be a little bit taller. Oh, what? He's sub 6 foot tall.
No, I'm just picturing him with like a longer neck, and yeah, it would be a little bit better.
Some comments from Twitter at Gallant says, "Good looking," says Oso. Okay, that's a consistent theme from the Twitch and on Twitter.
I was gonna say, not the first person to say that.
Okay, some of you guys, it's Friday. Are you down bad? You need a bonk? Breen tweets just the obvious, obviously, which is talent. Well, yeah, but we need more. Looking for traits. Let's go to Twitch too. Twitch.tv/ESPN975. Largo has contributed. I need my quarterback to be able to cryptically tweet rap lyrics. Wouldn't mind if this quarterback has a crippling pill addiction. Also, an interesting thought on what that person should have had done to him when he was just born. Koogblaze says, I need him to drink his coffee black. Well, I mean, you put sugar and cream in there, you might have some gastrointestinal issues. And you can't have too much sugar, unless you want him to get a little meat on top of the bone so he can absorb hits. Maybe be a giant soup sandwich like Ben Roethlisberger was. Todd the Show, I need my quarterback to block his entire fan base on social media. So Derek Carr or Roethlisberger.
Yeah, or Roethlisberger.
Yeah, okay. These are some good ideas. Houston Dabking says, a black quarterback faces adversity every day and has to overcome adversity every single day. You know what? That is a fair point. Based off of, what was his name? Booger Balls, who commented at the end of yesterday's show about how I'm too hard on black athletes. Maybe Jalen Hurts or a quarterback of Jalen Hurts ilk coming here, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, maybe them being here, I would help them out. I would create adversity for them because apparently that's what I do. Interesting. 713-780-3776 to call in. To text in as well. You can Twitch us, twitch.tv/ESPN975. I said a couple of Houston Texans may have been robbed yesterday. The NFL's Hall of Fame class for this year will not include Andre Johnson. Offensive lineman Joe Thomas made it in. Linebacker DeMarcus Ware. Cornerback Darrelle Revis. If you listened to me a couple of weeks ago when we talked about the Hall of Fame, I said that those three guys were locks to make it in. Zach Thomas and Rondé Barber, surprising, but I do think that they had comparable resumes to Andre Johnson. Zach Thomas at a time was considered to the best middle linebacker in the NFL. Rondé Barber has been a part of a historic defense. Unfortunately, even though it shouldn't be held against him, Andre Johnson being on that team, that's going to be held against him. The other problem was, too, Reggie Wayne and Torrey Holt were also in this year's Hall of Fame class. I do think Johnson's eventually going to get in, but it's going to take some time, and it is a little bit frustrating because we know that there is a guy in John McClain who has been consistently the one stepping up, and at the NFL Hall of Fame meetings, basically a guy stands up, makes a pitch for a player as to why he should be in the Hall of Fame. We know that McClain's been focused on this for years, and it didn't happen this year. It was going to be hard for him to sell. He's going to have to find a new pitch, I think, with how he does it, especially with so many wide receivers getting in and more wide receivers probably being eligible next year. The other potential robbery might have taken place with the Houston Texans because Dameon Pierce was not the Offensive Rookie of the Year. Ugh. Although he did get one second-place vote. That went to Jets wide receiver Garrett Wilson. Jets cornerback Sauce Gardner also got it over Derek Stingley. So that sucks. That's something we're going to be thinking about for a while, huh? It sucks. It just sucks.
That's a good. That's the take.
It sucks.
That sucks.
It just sucks. I personally think that Tariq Woolen with the Seattle Seahawks, and I'm a little biased on that front, should have gotten more votes. He only got one. I think Woolen is a 5th-round pick, 6'4". I feel like if Woolen was in New York and had the exact season he had in Seattle, and if Gardner was in Seattle, I feel like Woolen would have won the award. And I think maybe there's a little more hype attached to Sauce Gardner or Aiden Hutchinson, the other two finalists, because they were both top 5 picks. But, I mean, Woolen had an awesome year. I guess we weren't really talking about him till midway through the year. If he was in New York, I think we would have been talking about him a lot more quickly. Got to say, a lot of New York bias, Jake Asman, in the award ceremonies last night. Dameon Pierce did win something, though, because of this run. He took home a strange trophy.
Pierce breaking tackles. Pierce still on his feet. And they finally bring him down.
Just get this ball and not be denied. There's the contact right at the line of scrimmage, running through tackles. There's another one. Get off me. There's another one. You can't bring me down.
That run against the Jacksonville Jaguars earned Dameon Pierce the honor of best run of the 2023 NFL season. And he got, like, the golden scepter. What is happening?
I think it's a Kyle Brandt like thing that's gotten like from Good Morning Football.
Okay.
That I don't want to say has gotten out of hand, but he actually handed the award that he gives out on the show to a real NFL player, like on TV, like at the award show. So I feel like it got a little out of hand. I don't know if this is an official award.
Okay.
I don't know if
I saw the Texans post a picture of Dameon Pierce holding the golden scepter.
What I'm saying is I'm not sure if John McClain's going to be using 2022 golden scepter winner
when he pitches for Dameon Pierce for the Hall of Fame down the road.
Yes, in 2058 or whatever. Yeah.
Hey, if he's still rocking by then, man, we're all doing it wrong. You know, we're all doing it wrong. I'm always impressed by people who, and I love John. John's always been really good to me. I've always been impressed by people who drink soda in the morning. Okay,
soda
man.
in the morning?
Oh yeah, he big.
He just starts his day with like a Diet Coke.
Loves him some Dr. Pepper. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. I was always
guy.
like, listen, Dr. Pepper bleeps. I love Dr. Pepper.
That's crazy.
Dr. Pepper. I mean, and I know it's Texas brand soda, but Dr. Pepper is the best non-flavored soda. If you get what I'm saying, like vanilla Coke is my favorite Coca-Cola. I don't like Coca-Cola as much as I like vanilla Coke. Vanilla Coke's like crack to me. I'll drink that and my stomach, like, you can feel all the syrup like slowly breaking down and like, I've seen pictures of what happens when soda's in your stomach and it grossed me out on soda forever. But Dr. Pepper's number one.